Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayadire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So today we are starting second canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th chapter. Answers by citing the Lord's version. Text number 1 onwards. Shri Shukavacha Atmayam Rite Rajan Parasyanu Bhavatmanaha Na Ghatetartha Sambandha Swapna Drishtur Ivanjasa. Shri Shukdev Goswami said, O king, unless one is influenced by the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no meaning to the relationship of the pure soul in pure consciousness with the material body. That relationship is just like a dreamer's seeing his own body working. So, unless one is influenced by the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, one question of Parikshit Maharaj was how this superior spirit soul comes in contact with the material body. So answering that question, Shukdev Goswami is saying, unless one is influenced by the energy, by the, obviously the Mahamaya, material energy. Okay, purport. Maharaj Parikshit's question as to how a living entity began his material life, although he is apart from the material body and mind, is perfectly answered. The spirit soul is distinct from the material conception of his life, but he is absorbed in such a material conception because of him being influenced by the external energy of the Lord called Atma Maya. This has already been explained in the first canto in connection with Vyasadev's realization of the Supreme Lord and his external energy. The external energy is controlled by the Lord, and the living entities are controlled by the external energy, by the will of the Lord. Therefore, although the living entity is purely conscious in his pure state, he is subordinate to the will of the Lord in being influenced by the external energy of the Lord. So it's very difficult to understand that this living entity, although it is spiritual and although it is superior to material energy, but still it comes under the control of the material energy. It happens by the will of the Lord. And why it happens by the will of the Lord? Because only for those living entities who want to stay away from Him or who rebelled in the spiritual world. So Krishna puts them in the material world. But in the material world, we have to be under material energy or external energy. In the Bhagavad Gita 15:15, also the same thing is confirmed. The Lord is present within the heart of every living entity, and all the living entities' consciousness and forgetfulness are influenced by the Lord. So Krishna says in 15:15, Sarvasya chaham hriti sannivishtur matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha. So from me comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. But it all depends upon the desire of the living entity, and that's when Krishna puts him in forgetfulness also. Now, the next question automatically made will be why the Lord influences the living entity to such consciousness and forgetfulness. The answer is that the Lord clearly wishes that every living entity be in his pure consciousness as a part and parcel of the Lord, and thus be engaged in the loving service of the Lord as he is constitutionally made. But because the living entity is partially independent also, he may not be willing to serve the Lord. but may try to become as independent as the Lord is. So that's where the whole problem is. Living entity, like we are, the Jiva, is part and parcel of Krishna. And Krishna is supremely independent, and we want to be as independent as the Lord. We don't want to become as partial independent. We want to become as independent. So he has to send us to material world. All the non-devotee living entities are desirous of becoming equally as powerful as the Lord, although they are not fit to become so. The living entities are illusioned by the will of the Lord because they wanted to become like him. Like a person who thinks of becoming a king without possessing the necessary qualification. When the living entity desires to become the Lord himself, he is put in a condition of dreaming that he is a king. So in the dream, we can act like a king, but we are not the king. Or just like in a play, if somebody plays the part of a king, just like one of my friends was telling me that one of her sons once played the part of Akbar in a school play. So the practice was going on for many, many days. So he was practicing playing the part of Akbar. So Akbar means the great king. So at home also he was uh, not playing the part, but he was moving around like Akbar, I'm Akbar, and this and that, and him and his younger brother, and messing around, just being naughty. So my friend just chastised both of them and maybe punished them also. And the boy who was going to play part of Akbar in the school, he said, क्या है शहनशाह की कोई इज्जत ही नहीं होती यहाँ पे. So this is our problem actually. And this is what Prabhupada is writing. We want to act like the Lord, but we cannot be like that. So that's where the whole problem. And when we want to be act, that is where the illusion is. The living entities are illusioned by the will of the Lord because they wanted to become like Him. Like a person who thinks of becoming a king without possessing the necessary qualification, when the living entity desires to become the Lord Himself, he is put in a condition of dreaming that he is a king. So, dreaming or illusion, that's all it is. Therefore, the first sinful will of the living entity is to become the Lord. And the consequent will of the Lord is that the living entity forget his factual life and thus dream of the Lord, dream of the land of utopia, where he may become one like the Lord. So become one like the Lord is what? Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, I am the proprietor of everything. I am the controller. I am the enjoyer. So we want to be like that. Krishna is the proprietor, Sarvalok Maheshwaram, he says. So, because we cannot be Sarvalok Maheshwaram, or the biggest demon in the history was Hiranyakashipu. So he had become the king of the whole universe, except Satyaloka, Brahmaloka, where because he got all the benedictions from Brahmaji, he didn't want to take over Brahmaloka. So, but still, he wasn't the Lord. He became the king by fighting, by defeating other kings all over the planet, all over the universe. But he wasn't the Lord. Because when Nrsimhadev came, he just tore him apart, and that's it. There went his lordship. Krishna did not become the Lord by defeating other kings. Krishna did not become the the Sarvalok Maheshwaram by defeating other kings. He was always like that. The child cries to have the moon from the mother, and the mother gives the child a mirror to satisfy the crying and disturbing child with the reflection of the moon. Similarly, the crying child of the Lord is given over to the reflection, the material world, to lord it over as karmi, and to give this up in frustration, to become one with the Lord. Both these stages are dreaming illusions only. Prabhupada gives wonderful example. He's saying a mother sometimes gives a child a mirror, like a child wants moon, or a mirror, or sometimes, like Prabhupada explained, she will put water in a bucket and let the child see the moon reflection in the water in the bucket and let him be happy. Okay, you got the moon. But he didn't get the moon. He only got the reflection of the moon. Even that reflection is dependent upon on the mirror or the water. So similarly, here, when we want to lord it over, just like Krishna is the lord of the spiritual world. Of course, he is the lord of all the worlds, but he's undoubtedly, because everybody acknowledges that in the spiritual world, that in Golok Vrindavan, Krishna is the Lord, or in Vaikuntha, whichever Vishnu is there. Here in the material world, that's where the problem is, because we somehow became envious of him, and we wanted to be the Lord just like him. So he sent us to the material world. Okay, you play with this reflection of the kingdom. For here, us being here, even this reflection, because this is a reflection of the real thing, even the reflection looks real. This reflection is this material world. It looks so real. We buy the properties, we establish businesses, huge business empires. It's all illusion. It's all temporary, actually. It will go away whenever we leave the body. Even the body is not ours. We have no control over the body. But still, this illusion is so strong, that we keep on running after the money, Maya. But in the end, nothing. Whatever we earn throughout this life, we leave, we give up. And the time we wasted, it never comes back. And we think even throughout this life, we think I'm the enjoyer. Hardly we enjoy. I'm the proprietor, I'm the controller. We are none, actually. That doesn't mean, I'm not saying that one should not try to make money, try to live comfortably. One should. But at the same time, with the right consciousness, understanding, Krishna is the Lord of everything. We have been just given these assets, this property, as a caretaker. That's all. So we take care of this as a servant of Krishna, just like Bharat Maharaj did when Ram was in the forest. Bharat Maharaj made sure he understood, and everybody understood, that Ram is a real king, even though he's in the forest because of the vow of Dashrath. But Ram is a king. Bharat Maharaj had made sure that I'm not the king. His slippers will sit on the Raj Singhasan, and I'll serve, I'll rule over as a servant of these slippers of Ram. And he did that. That is a real mode. Even in the expansion of the Lord teaches us this should be the mode of a devotee, of a servant. But we forget that. There is no necessity of tracing out the history of when the living entity desired this. So this is a frequently asked question, one of the FAQs. When did we become envious of Krishna in the spiritual world? But Prabhupada, there is no need to find that out. Fact is that as soon as he desired it, he was put under the control of Atma Maya by the direction of the Lord. Therefore, the living entity in his material condition is dreaming falsely that this is mine and this is I. The dream is that the conditioned soul thinks of this material body as I, or falsely thinks that he is the Lord, and that everything in connection with that material body is mine. Thus, only in dream does the misconception of I and mine persist life after life. This continues life after life as long as the living entity is not purely conscious of his identity as a subordinate part and parcel of the Lord. So this mentality, this consciousness continues until we change it, we purify this consciousness. In his pure consciousness, however, there is no such misconceived dream. And in that pure conscious state, the living entity does not forget that he is never the Lord, but that he is eternally the servitor of the Lord in transcendental love. In that pure conscious state, living entity does not forget that he is never the Lord, but that he is eternally the servitor. So this is what we are trying to like put this idea in our consciousness, trying to understand by reading Prabhupada's books with chanting. Chanting is what Prabhupada has explained. We are begging Radha and Krishna, please engage me in your service. Service means we are trying to come back to our eternal position as a servant of Krishna. We are trying. Of course, we forget because we've been conditioned for such a long time, we forget. But again, we pray, we beg, we try to remember. This is all the bhakti is, devotion service is, sadhana bhakti. Then we do some services, then we read. And when we read Prabhupada's books, again this point is hammered into our thick skulls. We are servants of Krishna. We are not the controllers. Text 2. Bahurupa iva bhati mayaya bahurupaya ramamano guneshasya mamahamiti manyate. The illusion living entity appears in so many forms offered by the external energy of the Lord. While enjoying in the modes of material nature, the encaged living entity misconceives thinking in terms of I and mine. The different forms of the living entities are different dresses offered by the illusory external energy of the Lord. According to the modes of nature, the living being desires to enjoy. So according to the modes of nature we desire to enjoy, we are given different body, different dresses. The external material energy is represented by her three modes, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. So even in the material nature, there is a chance of an independent choice by the living entity. And according to his choice, the material energy offers him different varieties of material bodies. So there are 900,000 varieties of material bodies in water, 2 million vegetable bodies, means plants and trees, 1.1 million worms and reptiles, 1 million birds, 3 million different kinds of beasts, and 400,000 human forms. That comes to 8,400,000 species of life. Altogether, there are 8,400,000 varieties of bodies in different planets of the universe. And the living entity is traveling by so many transmigrations according to different modes of enjoying spirit within himself. So, different modes of nature, different permutations and combinations of material modes is a different modes of enjoying spirit within the living entity's consciousness. So sometimes it could be variety, it's a variety of sometimes mode of goodness is predominant, mode of passion, or mode of ignorance is predominant. Even in one particular body, the living entity changes from childhood to boyhood, boyhood to youth, youth to old age, and from old age to another body created by his own action. The living entity creates his own body by his personal desires, and the external energy of the Lord supplies him the exact form by which he can enjoy his desires to the fullest extent. The tiger wanted to enjoy the blood of another animal, and therefore, by the grace of the Lord, the material energy supplied him the body of the tiger with facilities for enjoying blood from another animal. So it's not the tiger wanted to enjoy, it's the soul inside the body of the tiger in the previous body. He wanted to enjoy the blood of another animal. So he was given this body of the tiger. Similarly, a living entity desiring to get the body of a demigod in a higher planet also can get it by the grace of the Lord. And if he is intelligent enough, he can desire to get a spiritual body to enjoy the company of the Lord, and he will get it. So the minute freedom of the living entity can be fully utilized. And the Lord is so kind that he will award the living entity the same type of body he desires. The living entity's desiring is like dreaming of a golden mountain. A person knows what a mountain is, and he knows also what gold is. Out of his desire only, he dreams of a golden mountain, and when the dream is over, he sees something else in his presence. He finds in his awakened state that there is neither gold nor a mountain, and what to speak of a golden mountain. So, this is all illusion. Illusion, we can dream of a golden mountain, but when we wake up, nothing is there. The different positions of the living entities in the material world and the multifarious manifestations of bodies are due to the misconceptions of mine and I. The karmi thinks of this world as mine, and the jnani thinks I am everything. The whole material conception of politics, sociology, philanthropy, altruism, etc., conceived by the conditioned souls, is on the basis of this misconceived I and mine, which are products of a strong desire to enjoy material life. Identification with the body and the place where the body is obtained under different conceptions of socialism, nationalism, family affection, and so on and so forth is all due to forgetfulness of the real nature of the living entity. And the whole misconception of the bewildered living entity can be removed by the association of Shukdev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit, as all this is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is the whole purpose of Bhagavatam, not to increase our illusion, not to increase our material entanglement, not to increase our life in the material world, is to remove any illusion, cut off any bondage here, and establish our relationship with Krishna, and to take us back to Godhead. This is the whole purpose for which Srimad Bhagavatam was compiled. And see Prabhupada how nicely he explains. Of course, he is heavy, but this is all I and mine, the whole material conception of politics, sociology, philanthropy, altruism, etc., conceived by the conditioned souls is on the basis of this misconceived I and mine, which are the products of a strong desire to enjoy material life. But this is what is going on. The whole world is crazy about all these items. The whole politics is what? I am better than you, so I should be given a chance. Of course, they don't serve, but they say, I will serve you, serve the voters. But nobody serves. Idea is to enjoy. Enjoy the popularity, enjoy the power, enjoy the money or whatever comes with that power. It's very intoxicating, actually. People don't want to give it up. That's even if they get old, they want to transfer it to their kids or to their wives. So that idea is so I can rule through my kids or my wife or whatever. Because it's very intoxicating. People don't want to give it up. But this is all Maya. So anyway, I'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I just have a small request. If you could, if it is possible at your end, if only, if you can send the recording like after the class, because what happens is, I'm like moving and half of my mind is in the class, half of it is not there. So, when I'm on my way, I can listen properly. So it's a humble request, Prabhuji, if it is possible at your end. Otherwise, I have to manage in the office.
First I get the recording and then I send it to Abhishek Prabhu and he puts it on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
I don't know
Okay.
how to put it on YouTube.
Okay, no problem, Prabhuji, no problem.
So he manages that, and sometimes I forget to send him right away, and then sometimes he delays it.
No problem, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mata. Any other question or comment? Okay, I guess we can stop here. You all have a wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Ram.
Hare Krishna.